Okay, my Zoomers, Zooms, my Zoomers, my Gen Zers, my Zoomers, my Zoomies, we love you. We love you. You are going to be the next generation of legendary screenwriters, and this class is definitely going to be the one to help you do that. Okay, I'm giving you the foundation to be dominating in the market, because with all of the garbage that I see nowadays, I can only imagine later in the years there's going to be even more garbage. But that's where people like you are unique, and you're going to stick out, because what you pick up from this class is never, it's never quite been done before. Quite frankly, it's never been done before. Some of these concepts, and it's never really been done before in the sense of mainstream, right? This is a very avant-garde, underground approach to script writing and just writing in general, creative writing. So let's go ahead and break down these scenes now that we have some time. Let me get this squared away again. Ooh. Whoa. Okay. There we go. Let's see, maybe like this, like that. Okay, that'll have to work. In fact, might have to just turn it up a little bit. Oh, we don't want the wee. See, we don't want the wee-wees, we want the wah-wahs. There we go. Wah-wah. Wah-wah. There we go. Okay, enough fooling around though, folks. Seriously, you've got to pay attention. I have to do my antics, guys. People ask me, why are you so animated, Graham? Why do you do all these antics, you know? I have to. I have to, because you guys don't pay attention. You don't pay attention. You get distracted by your TikToks and your Instagrams and everything, you know. Your Reddits. And you're on your Reddits, but you're not reading this. You got to read this, guys. You got to focus on this. And so that's why I have to stay very animated and keep you engaged, keep you on track. And so that's why I do that, because I love you guys and I want you to succeed. So I got to make sure you guys pay attention. Because if I was a crappy teacher, I wouldn't give a two rats. Quite frankly, I wouldn't give a shit. But I give a shit about you guys, and like I was just saying, I do believe what you will learn from this class will make you unique, it'll make you stick out, and it'll pave the road to success into a career that will sustain you, but also fulfill that creative side of you. Each and every one of you. I believe in you. I believe in you! All right? So here we go. We're going to jump right into our scenes today. So we're going to look at the philosophical contrast between these characters, and through the characters, rather. The most important cinematic element in these scenes is that of which a contrast, right? Contrast between characters. It's Dennis meets two men who represent two completely different philosophies of life. Right? Two philosophies of life. So Christian Abide, World War I veteran, right? Quiet, reflective, historically aware, believes life value comes from kindness, family, learning from history, speaks slowly, deliberately, very much a regimented, grounded, secure, commanding man. Commander, using the war, guys. And then we have Mr. Callahan, right? Former tycoon, loud, humorous, and very indulgent, as I said. He believes life should be enjoyed through pleasure, travel, romance. He lives with no regret. He lives without regret. Care to the wind. Dennis stands between these two philosophies, right? Cinematically, this creates tension. This creates tension without action scenes. Okay, put this in your notes. This creates tension without action scenes. Very, very profound. Very profound. And so the audience watches Dennis silently absorbing two opposite ways to live. Right? And that's interesting because that makes the film ask, that sets up the film rather to have the audience be asking the question, which one is right? So the next thing is the movement through the spaces. Movement through space is another thing that's very important here. Another cinematic tool, if you will. And what I mean by moving through space is the physical movement, right? The physical movement of, through the building. The physical movement through the building. Dennis doesn't stay in one room, right? He's not just a two-dimensional. He's not just boring, he stays in one room. When it comes to dialogue, you think most people just stay in one room. Well, not for this particular script. That does work for other scripts. Okay. He moves, right? He goes to Christian's room, and he goes to the hallway, and he goes to the kitchen, right? And he goes to the hallway. Remember I was telling you earlier, do you see a pattern? This is the pattern, folks. And then eventually ends in Callahan's room. So this does two things, right? It keeps the pacing dynamic of the film. It keeps the pacing very dynamic. It lets the audience discover the world of the retirement center, right? We're discovering all the detail of this place, making it very real, right? The building becomes this living environment rather than just a location. Each room reveals a different perspective on life. To add on to that, right? Each room has a different perspective of light, a different perspective of life. And there's a little bit of spiritual residue there, too. So go ahead and apply spiritual residue. Remember, folks, spiritual residue, very important. So the audience is experiencing this place the same way Dennis does, by simply wandering through it. Right? Wandering through it. That's what Dennis is doing. And so, the environment can be almost looked at as character. Yeah. The environment as character. The retirement center itself innately becomes the story. Becomes part of the story. And so details like the cigarette smoke, the fluorescent lighting, the rain outside, the food trays, the nurses running around, right? This creates that lived-in realism. Instead of an exposition, the audience understands that the time period and culture, they notice the time period and the culture through the small details, the small vision details, the visual details. Very visual, very visual. This is not exposition. So, for example, let's say Christian smoking at dinner, right, or lunch, or either whatever it is, dinner, lunch, we're not sure yet, it doesn't matter. It was the old man's time to eat, right? And so, Christian eating dinner is very much an example of culture and the time period being viewed by these small visual details. Mary cooking while smoking in the kitchen. Again, small, subtle, but a visual signal. And the nurses rushing the trays around. Right? These details quietly place the audience in 1982 without announcing it. All these details put you in the mind frame and into the shoes of the people that work at this place, but also just the people, experiencing all of this in the current day and age of 1982. This is strong cinematic storytelling. And so, another thing I want to talk about is that is really effective, especially in these two scenes, but as we'll see throughout the whole film. And then we've seen earlier too, it's the humor balancing out the philosophy, right? the humor balancing philosophy. It does a great job of balancing serious ideas with humor. And so, Christian delivers this speech, right, of heavy reflections of war and about war and about humanity. Some deep stuff, very, very deep stuff. And so that's, but right after that we get the tree crashing. And Michelle is scrambling, and Mary is yelling in the kitchen, and Callahan is bragging about 3 wives. I mean, this is the tonal shift that prevents the film from becoming preachy, right? It prevents it from becoming preachy. It keeps it real. In the real world, funny things happen all the time. So that's something interesting to think about too. It mirrors real life. It's these serious, like in life in general, right? These serious moments are always interrupted by chaos. That's just real life. That's my everyday. Trust me, as a teacher, I can adhere to this claim. Because that's very much how it is. And it's the rhythm. That's the rhythm of life, and it keeps the audience engaged. The characters are planting seeds throughout the whole of the scenes. Small details are always going to become important later, right? The big FS. Another very important concept that I hope you all remember. FS, right? The foreshadowing. Very important, and it's usually these small details. And so, like Michelle noticing Dennis earlier in the hallway, right? There was a pause there. I don't know if he caught it, but there was. Michelle was noticing Dennis earlier in the hallway. Callahan, this one's a little more obvious, but Callahan joking about Mary, right? There you go. There's another one. And, maybe I'd even go so far to say, like Dennis helping, right? Dennis so eager to help Michelle, the nurse, right? That eagerness to help, that willingness, that helpfulness. These moments feel very casual in the moment, but they're establishing relationships. They're subtle details, and they're establishing relationships. And this technique is important. It's important in cinema in general, because it allows future moments to feel earned rather than forced. And that's what you want to do with your audience. You want them to earn something, right? They come with an appetite. They want to earn their reward. They don't just want it force-fed to them. It's boring. It's just boring, So we want those future moments to feel earned rather than forced, always. And like I was saying earlier, right? Dennis is very much the audience. The audience is very much Dennis. They're two in the same, right? Two wings of the same bird, if you will, with the little coconut head. Dennis himself is written very intentionally, obviously. He's quiet, mostly listens. This makes him a viewer's surrogate. A viewer's surrogate. I was talking about this, I think, the other night in our sci-fi script. How, there was another character who was also a viewer's surrogate, but I don't want us to be confused, so I'll confuse myself, because we got 4 scripts going, folks. But yeah, he's the viewer surrogate. Audience learns about the world the same way he does. Through observation, through conversation, through small encounters. And because Dennis doesn't dominate the scenes, the audience has room to absorb the environment as they go. So, yeah, very good. If you know, Dennis is the audience. Remember that. So let's get to the big mama. Woo! Big cinematic idea, right? What's the whole point of this whole thing? Let's get it over with already, Graham. Come on. Rip the Band-Aid off. These scenes are interesting because they're not... These scenes are interesting not because something crazy happens, not because something shocking happens, not because something dramatic necessarily happens. It's interesting because ideas are revealed through these ordinary moments. That's why it's interesting. You know, a man is giving life advice while smoking. A nurse is dropping her dinner trays. A cook is yelling at a smoky kitchen. These small moments, the film quietly explores, history, regret, love, how to live your life in general, wisdom, lots of wisdom. That's what makes the material cinematic. That's what makes this script very, very cinematic. Philosophy isn't delivered in speeches alone, it's very much embodied in everyday life. It's embodied in everyday life. So, as we continue in this script together, I will tell you that love is very much a theme in this. And it's actually going to be the twist ending. It'll be the twist ending. For the audience, at least. You guys will kind of already... all my FSers out there, who know the FS, when they hear it, they won't be surprised. But the audience, when they watch this, they'll be very surprised at the end, because there is a twist ending that's very much surrounded around the theme of love. Oh, let me check what time it is. Goodness. Okay, yeah, we better get going, but this was it. This is all I had for you today. Just two quick little scenes and some cliff notes for you. Again, all of this will be on Canvas, so go ahead and do what you will with the notes that you have today. If you missed any of it, the lectures are always posted online. And yes, reference Canvas for these new scenes. All right, folks, that's all I got time for. Thank you so much for everyone to come in class. Yes, can I help you? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, come here.